Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. I think this is a really important time to start talking about the Western Balkans. And I would start by saying that perhaps the title of this presentation is a little bit off. It's not really about the American agenda in the Western Balkans. It really is the European and American agenda, because we are very much in agreement with our European partners as to what needs to be done in the Western Balkans. And to sum it up in one sentence, it's European integration. The American policy is to support the European efforts to bring them to anchor the countries of the Western Balkans in the community of Western democratic countries, full stop. That's our policy. That's everything else is just a tactical approach as to how we do that. But from our perspective, that would create a tremendous amount of stability in the region. In fact, it's been our experience watching the successive enlargements of the European Union, that every country that enters the European Union is more stable, more democratic, and more prosperous. And most of them, all of them, I would say, are net contributors to the Union and to the transatlantic community. So we see that as the end state for the Western Balkans. And if you look at the region, the countries are in fact European. They are historically European. They are culturally European. They're people, when they leave the region, they go to Europe, and their economies are tied to Europe. And depending on the country, up to 80% of their economy is linked to Europe and nowhere else. So from our perspective, it's a natural step that they should be part of the Union, which exerts so much influence in their countries already. We recognize, of course, that not all of the countries of the European Union would like to see the rapid accession of these countries. We recognize also that the countries have their own homework to do in terms of closing chapters, particularly on rule of law and protections of minorities and other issues. But those are issues that the United States and Europe are working on together. In fact, we have very, very robust programs, both through USAID and through other assistance providers, that we coordinate closely with our European partners, directed at closing chapters that these countries need to advance their candidacy. But beyond that, I know that there are hesitations within the European Union, because they see that without some of the reforms that need to be done haven't been done, that these countries could represent a risk to European unity. Our experience with new members in the region through NATO, particularly Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Albania, is that they have been good partners. They have been solid contributors, and they've been good allies in our efforts around the world and in the region. And I think that's what the European Union can expect from these countries. They can expect that these countries will be solid contributors. And for the non-NATO countries, we do have tremendous partnerships. We have a very solid partnership with Kosovo. We have an emerging partnership with Serbia that has benefited both countries. Bosnia, Bosnia has its own unique challenges, but I think that the people of Bosnia really do want European Union integration. And beyond that, I would say that, from our perspective, we don't look at the Balkans as a challenge, although politically there are still some issues to be resolved from the breakup of the former Yugoslavia. What we see now is real opportunities for partnership and real opportunities to partner with one of the fastest growing regions of Europe. So there is an organic domestic movement, I would say, trend toward economic regional integration among the countries outside of the European Union in the Western Balkans. Whether you call it the Common Regional Market, the Open Balkans Initiative, or something else, it is happening, and it's happening really quickly. And I think that is a positive thing. One, it's domestic. Two, they're taking ownership for it. And those are two things that we've been pushing in the Balkans for a long time. And it really does provide us this perspective of potentially having this region of 6 or 7 countries, maybe more, depending on the links that they would have with neighbors, of 20 million people, $125 billion economy, and in some cases growing upwards of 5% per year. That's a pretty attractive proposition. And on top of that, if we partner with them on the economic integration, there are some real opportunities for European and American economic advances. So part of it could be energy diversity. We could push regional renewable energy initiatives, things that work on a broader scale, but not necessarily on an individual country scale. We could do being at the crossroads of the Adriatic and the Black Sea and Asia Minor and Central Europe. That strategic location could lead to tremendous opportunities in transportation, shipping. And we're already seeing in some parts really successful investment and really successful development in IT. So we look at the Balkans as an area of opportunity for engagement, opportunity for partnership. And we'd like our European partners to see it the same way. It is, in fact, only a small step for Europe. They represent only about 5% of the European population. And it isn't such a big step. The alternative is the possibility of greater stability in the region, the possibility that individual governments will feel like they are left to themselves and left to their own devices to resolve tensions with their neighbors, to resolve concerns about about ethnic groups who happen to fall on the other side of a border, and having the confidence that they will be European, that they will be part of a broader structure that has proven itself to be very successful in resolving these kind of issues, would go a long way in helping resolve some of the problems that have been lingering for the last 25 years. Anyway, that is really, in a nutshell, our policy and our view of the Western Balkans today. And it is a much different viewpoint from the viewpoint that we had in the 90s. Rather than being problematic, I think now we have real opportunities. So we should capitalize on that. And I'll stop there in case there are any questions.